It's time for our daily dose of cope. And here we have Tasha Spotson. She says, breaking news, a faceless head has been found. Sources say the brain was gone before the face was eaten. It's said that this was a MAGA supporter. Well, we'll have to check on that and follow back up with you. Let's get to the rest of these stories. Okay, so this post came from the Leopards Ate My Face subreddit. So this person captioned it, ex-coworkers celebrated Trump's victory. Now, today. It says, what an absurd scenario. The tariffs taking effect at midnight tonight will be disastrous for us. Being in retail, we feel the impact of these changes, and it's unfavorable for our business. I guess it is what it is. C'est la vie. I don't really give a about politics, but it's affecting us tremendously. And to top that, my 401k is losing money too. And then some language that I don't know, but it looks like they're mad because they put a bunch of cap locks and exclamation points. People might not do politics, but politics will do you. Politics will do you. Politics is personal. The personal is political because all of these things that they are implementing on us will impact us, whether you're political or not. You better get political, otherwise politics will just do you. All right, here's the caption from this person. Coworker from my last sales job that relies on importing goods, mind you, celebrated his victory in glory. They also wanted a pay pump to compensate for the tariffs when they were first announced last month and stated, now today, realizing they are not going to be getting compensation. 9-Inch Python says, normies who read the first chapter of any book on economics. Trump's ideas are objectively terrible and will likely cause a potentially painful recession. Trump voter, shut up, libtard. You just have Trump derangement syndrome. Normies, oh, sorry. Trump does galactically stupid that he said he would do. Trump voter, I can't believe it. Nobody told us. All right, let's get into some of these tweets and watch this progression. So this person named Brian is commenting on President Biden's archived post. Now, this was back in January. He says, since day one of my administration, I've made it clear that America will finally begin to lead the world in manufacturing again. And by adding the most manufacturing jobs to the U.S. economy in 40 years, we laid the groundwork for making that real. And to that, Brian says, where are all these jobs you're talking about? Please enlighten us, because no one knows what jobs you're talking about. Worst president ever. Now, this is what he's saying today. I voted for you because grocery and gas prices have me on the brink of bankruptcy, but you're pissing me off, buddy. That was me added that. When you claim gas and food prices are dropped and down. Why? Because I shop and buy gas and nothing is down. In fact, gas in my area just went up 40 cents a gallon. And food, boom. Because, Trump did say he was going to get grocery prices down. And that was a lie. Next, we're moving on to some tweets from Samson. Samson says, back in November, as a black man, I will never vote Democrat again. Only way they care about black men issues is if I'm carrying a purse or if I'm wearing a dress. Forget that. Traditional black men and mixed race black men need to leave the Democrat Party immediately. Republicans Against Trump shared this Trump post from back in March. It says, Donald Trump threatens to impose a 200% tariff on all wines and alcoholic problems from the EU. This is insane and will only wreck our economy. And to that, Sampson says, how will it wreck our economy? I study economics. Give me your number and outlook. He studies economics, but doesn't know that tariffs are going to jack America up. So he is silly. Keep in mind, though, this was before the tariffs were actually implemented. Now Sampson is responding to Robbie. Robbie says White House officials are quietly freaking out about President Trump's upcoming April 2nd Liberation Day tariff announcement, in which sweeping new tariffs will be unveiled against top U.S. trading partners. Top administration officials are concerned. And to that, Sampson says, scare tactics. Why are Democrats against bringing jobs back to America? This is why I left the Democratic Party. Now Sampson is talking to Donald Trump on April 12th. He says, I voted for you and you said you would not touch SSI. But I have some elder friends who got notices of their SSI being discontinued. You lied to the American people. What happened to put Americans first? He's a liar, dude. But the thing is, regardless though, this type of person is not going to correct his behavior. They're going to go down with the Republican ship no matter what. That's the reason why I will continue to say they need to feel this for 2 to 3 years. They need to feel this, and they need to see other people who voted for this feel it as well. Here's an article from The Hill from yesterday. Republicans fear Trump's trade war could lead to political wipeout. Republican lawmakers say there's a good chance that Trump's trade war will boomerang on Republicans politically in 2026, as rising prices and shrinking growth could offset other accomplishments by the GOP. Republican senators are pointing to the 1932 and 1982 elections as historical examples of when trade wars and resulting price inflation hurt their party at the ballot box, and they are worried that history could repeat itself. Many Republican lawmakers view tariffs as a hike on American consumers because that is what it is. And some note that the last 2 times Congress enacted tax hikes on the scale of Trump's recent tariffs, the president's party suffered a wipeout in the next election. In the national elections, you can go back to 1982, when I think it was about 26 congressional seats that were lost by Republicans, said Senator Tom Tillis, Republican from North Carolina, who will be a top Democratic target in next year's midterm election. In 1982, then President Reagan's first midterm election, the House lost 26 seats amid high interest rates and voters' sour view of the economy. The Senate GOP lost 1 seat in that cycle. Hopefully we can get it to be more because they deserve it. Now I want to go to this article from Bloomberg. These people, these Cubans, a majority of them went for Trump. They were like, go Trump, because many of them see themselves as spicy whites. That's literally what they see. They got over here, they pulled themselves up off the boat, they got over here, and then they put some holes in the boat to make sure that the next set of people couldn't get over here. But they're seeing now that they're not actually white, that they literally still are brown people. All right, so this says Cuban exiles are losing their privileged migration status under Trump. For decades, Cuban migrants enjoyed exceptional privileges in the U.S., regardless of who was in power. Now Trump is attacking those benefits. As Washington waged a Cold War against the communist island 90 miles south of Florida, fleeing Cubans were granted fast-track status that made them the envy of other Latin Americans. Along the way, exiles and their families became a powerful force in Republican politics, helping deliver Florida to Trump in 2016 and 2024. And with Marco Rubio serving as Secretary of State, the community has never had more power. Today, however, hundreds of thousands of Cubans risk deportation as Trump moves to end protections afforded to them by previous administrations. One part of that push has been temporarily stalled in court, but the rapidly changing landscape has rattled recent arrivals who are being told their path to legal immigration is no longer valid. So, ironically, the Cuban American community is now in perhaps its worst state, and their privileges are all but gone, said Ricardo Herrero, executive director of the Cuban Study Group. When Lazaro Yuri Villa Roca was released from a Cuban prison and hustled onto a plane bound for the U.S. in June, he believed it saved his life. The longtime political dissident has been serving a 5-year sentence for participating in widespread anti-government protests in 2021. He said he'd been beaten, starved, and left half dead by a mock execution. But last month, Villa Roca and his wife were informed that their migratory status was being revoked and that they would face potential deportation as of April 24th. I'm stunned, the 69-year-old said by phone in his home in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. If they send us back, we're both dead because I refuse to quit protesting against the government. I'm not going to keep talking about that man's status in particular, but I do want to get to this part. The tussle has left the Cuban American Republican caucus caught in between loyalty to Trump and the needs of its community, according to Herrero. Representative Maria Elvira Salazar, a Florida Republican and a staunch Trump supporter, has become increasingly vocal about the need to shield Cubans from deportation, while blaming former President Joe Biden for their troubles. Okay, so that's how they're going to do that. They're just going to blame Biden. Got it. Artist says Cubans and others came here fleeing failed communist countries, believing in Biden's empty promises. The Trump administration should take this under consideration and not punish them for Biden's mistakes. Salazar said on a post to X, let's give them the opportunity to apply for the protections they were promised. Florida Republican Carlos Jimenez presented the Department of Homeland Security with a list of 100 people last month that he said were members of the Cuban regime who had infiltrated the U.S. under Biden. While he asked for their expedited removal, he also said the United States should remain a beacon of hope and freedom for those escaping tyranny, all the while throwing people under the bus. Okay, got it. To advocates of U.S. engagement with Cuba like Herrero, that's too fine a line. They're twisting themselves into pretzels to find a framework that makes this all Biden's fault. Salazar and Jimenez didn't respond to requests for comment. Okay, wet foot, dry foot. The Cuban Adjustment Act of 1966 allows Cubans who have been in the United States for a year to become permanent residents, far faster than most other nationalities. Cubans are also exempt from quotas and other requirements like proving family or work reasons for residency. While that law remains in place, its conditions have been tightening. The wet foot, dry foot policy of 1996 meant that any Cuban who reached U.S. soil would win protection. President Barack Obama abolished that in 2017, keeping the doors open only for Cubans who had been authorized to enter. So this is very interesting. I didn't realize that they had special exemptions, but now they are seeing that maybe supporting all of these Republicans for this long, maybe that's going to bite them in the butt. And what can you really say about that? This is what they supported, so maybe their faces are being eaten as well. Anyways, let me know what you think.